These ant was so little. So I can't see, oh, you can't see that because you're so far away. And now, chapter 18, the mirror, and the end of chapter 19 tomorrow. And the end of chapter 20, okay? And now, one more time to the reading about it. So, Marvin Redpost kidnapped at birth. And we can study for chapter 6, a new car for Mrs. Redpost. Marvin was sitting at the dinner table. Mrs. Redpost had made a chicken cactus, his favorite. He hoped she wasn't really a kidnapper, and then he'd have to lock her in a dungeon. Mr. and Mrs. Redpost, he said, I have something important to tell you. And Mr. Redpost stirred into taco. The juice ran down his sleeve. Mr. and Mrs. Redpost and Mrs. Redpost, Lindsay, Jake, you need to hear this too, said Marvin. He took a deep breath. He wasn't quite sure how to say it. Well, said Jacob. Marvin Redpost is died, said Marvin. Jacob laughed. And Mr. and Mrs. Redpost stared at him. And when did he happen? And Mr. Redpost? About 9 years ago, said Marvin. Well, I must say, said Mrs. Redpost, now that you are looking quite well, prospering. And then she and Mr. Redpost cracked up, and Lindsay burst into tears. I love you, Marvin, she sobbed. Don't be died. Don't cry, Lindsay, said Marvin. I'm not died. Marvin Redpost is died. I'm not Marvin Redpost. And everyone was so strange except Jacob. And Jacob was very laugh. And funny because he's laughing. It's funny, so he's laughing. Ha ha ha. And Lindsay kept crying. Oh, I think in Marvin's family, think Marvin is Marvin. And don't think have another Marvin. And you're not? Asked Mrs. Redpost. No, said Marvin. He turned into his firmer mother. And sorry, Mom, I mean, Mrs. Redpost, I know this comes a great shock to you. Well, it's certainly a surprise, she replied. Who are you? Said Jacob, and Marvin took a deep breath. My name is Prince Robot. I'm the lost prince of the shampoo. Oh, I heard of him, exclaimed Jacob. The king of the shampoo is in Washington looking for his lost son. He turned into Marvin. You are him? Knit. I think so, said Marvin. And Marvin exclaimed the whole circus family and how his kidnappers hide the baby prince and hospital. Well, Marvin Redpost is born. And then Marvin Redpost is died. But they had an extra baby lying around, so they gave it to Mr. and Mrs. Redpost. Well, it sounds so sad, very logical, Mr. Redpost agreed, and Lindsay stopped crying. But her little lips still trembled, and Marvin felt sorry for her. It is always hardest on a children. I've got red hair and blue eyes, Marvin said, and everyone else's in family was blonde hair and brown eyes. But what matter with hair? And he changes hair color, then his Mrs. Redpost and Marvin hair might be different. And my mom and my hair color is different. And my mom and I are family, but why is color different? So it's just hair color was different. I think so. Oh, but it's disappointed because Marvin and King of the Shampoo looks same. but my mom and I was the same, so is family. But Marvin didn't look like Mrs. Redpost and Mr. Redpost. So that means it's not family. Oh no. And now, so what do you plan to do about these? Asked Mrs. Redpost. Snort got a phone number from the news, said Marvin. I called it. I spoke to Lady Jennifer. That is a bathwater. And Marvin stopped. Now came a hard part. I'm supposed to go to the Great Hotel tomorrow at 4:30 for blood test. Can you please take me there, Mrs. Redpost? She looked at him. I know it's asking a lot, said Marvin. Especially, son, you're not my mother, but I'm sure the king will be very grateful. He'll probably pay for the gas, but I bet he'd even buy you a new car. I will happy to, said Mrs. Redpost. Thank you, said Marvin. I'm going to miss you, Marvin, said Mrs. Redpost. Oh, yeah. Mrs. Redpost was Miss Marvin Redpost very much because now it's time to say goodbye. And Mrs. Redpost and Mr. Redpost and Lindsay and Jacob was living. It's when Marvin was living with King of the Shampoo and Lady Jennifer dashes a bathwater. And it might be very fun and good to live in a castle with a king and queen and someone was doing your homework and clean your body and face and brush your teeth and like that. You don't like to do like that, right? So someone must do it to you, and it's more nice if you do like that, right? So it's nice to do like that, but you living very, 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 very much with Mrs. Redpost and Mr. Redpost and Lindsay and Jacob. So I think Marvin is like Mrs. Redpost and Mr. Redpost and Lindsay and Jacob more than King of the Shampoo. And now, chapter 7, they're all exactly like you. And now tomorrow we start for chapter 7 and then chapter 8. Okay, and now are you ready for these? Oh, no. And now, did you have US English? Can you come with some better books? And, we'll read these books and these are great. Okay, and now, thank you for listening every day and see lots of characters and new book and new characters. And now, please thumbs up my YouTube and thank you for thumbs up my YouTube. And now, bye my friend, have a nice day.